Last time, I promised I'd find out if these cheap little agents are actually any good, because so far on this channel, I've just proven that a local agent is cheaper, and I've proven how many you can run at once. But fast and cheap is completely worthless if the answers are wrong. A confidently wrong agent isn't a bargain, it's a liability you're paying pennies to run. So this time, there's no hand waving and no opinions. I set the cheapest ring I own down for a real graded exam, and the result genuinely surprised me. Here's the report card. Because for 3 episodes now, I've been dodging the only question that actually matters. In episode 1, one cloud agent is a $7,200 a year trap. Episode 2, the local rig pays for itself in months. Episode 3, a cheap 8 GB box holds about 2 agents before it chokes. Cheaper has been proven. More of them, proven. But cheaper and more mean nothing if the thing is dumb. Every one of those videos ends on the same asterisk. Today, I'm finally cashing it in. Not how fast, not how many, but how smart. So here's the test. And like always, you can run every line of it yourself. 15 tasks: arithmetic, logic, code, pulling clean data out of a messy text. The trick is that every single one has a checkable answer: a number, a letter, a chunk of JSON code that either passes the asserts or does not. A dumb, strict little grader marks each one instantly. I'm not asking another AI for its opinion, because that's just hype grading hype, and I pin the temperature to 0 so you can run it tomorrow and get the exact same score. So I lined up 3 contestants, the same family of models, getting bigger. The little one we already know fits the cheap rig and runs fast. Then the popular mid-size that might squeeze in, and a big, genuinely clever one that by last episode's rules has no business loading on 8 GB at all. 3 sizes, 1 exam, 1 cheat machine. The bet everyone makes is simple. Bigger is smarter, so spend what you can fit. Let's find out what that bet actually is worth. This is the exam actually running. 15 questions, graded the second each answer lands. Watch the column on the right. A hit, a miss, a hit. No partial credit, no rounding up, no, well, that was close. Either the code runs and the number matches, or it's a 0. It's strangely tense to watch a model you're rooting for blow a question in real time. And in a few seconds, every one of those marks adds up in the first honest score that these models have ever gotten for me. And the little one left fits, it's better than you'd expect, with one clear weak spot: reasoning puzzles, format following, the coding tasks, pulling fields of messy text. It didn't just pass those, it ran the table, a clean sweep. If your agent's job is just to read something, follow instructions, and write a title function, this 3 billion model that cost you nothing is genuinely up to it. There's exactly one pace it falls down: multi-step arithmetic. Give it a work problem with real sums in it, and it'll show you working, sound completely certain, and land on the wrong model. Capable assistant, shaky accountant. But here's the question that's already in the comments. Why not just run a bigger one? More parameters, more smarts. Surely the mid-size one fixes that math problem and pulls ahead. It's the most reasonable assumption in local AI, and it's exactly the thing nobody actually measures. So I just stopped assuming. I took the most popular 8 billion model, the one half the tutorials tell you to download, and I made it sit the identical exam on the same cheap machine. This is where bigger is smarter meets an 8 GB wall. So I brought in the bigger model, and the first thing you notice isn't the smarts, it's the speed. Same machine, same questions. Watch the words come out. On the light stuff, it streams along fine, but the moment a task gets meaty, it stalls, chugging out a word, then waiting, then another. Over on the right, the memory meter pins in the red, because this model only just barely fits into 8 gigs, so the laptop keeps shuffling it on and off the disk. It's not broken, it's just working with one foot off the cliff. And after all that, after 4 times the wait, here's what those extra billions of parameters actually bought. On every single thing, the little model already aced, the bigger one also aced. Same clean sweep, just slower. The entire difference between them, the whole upgrade, came down to one extra arithmetic question. One. That's it. You pay roughly 4 times the speed. You run a model teetering on the memory edge, and in return, you get a single sum closer to the right. After all that, after 4 times the weight, here's what those extra billions of parameters actually bought. On every single thing, the little model already aced. The bigger one also aced. Same clean sweep, just slower. The entire difference between them, the whole upgrade, came down to one extra arithmetic question. One question, that's it. You pay roughly 4 times the speed. You run a model teetering on the memory edge, and in return, you get a single sum closer to right. The bigger model isn't smarter here in any way you'd feel. It's the same assistant, winded. So I went one size bigger again, and this time it didn't even finish. The big, genuinely clever model is the smartest one I tried, and on this rig, it produced nothing. It never completed a single question. It just seized up, thrashing memory to disk until the clock ran out and I called it. This is last episode's wall, except meaner. The mid-size model crawls, and the model that can actually fix the math doesn't run on a cheap box at all. The smarter it gets, the less it exists for you. Put all three on one chart, and the real trade-off jumps out. Across the bottom is speed, how fast it answers. Up the side is smarts, how many it got right. The dotted line is the same usable speed floor from last episode. To the right, you got something you'd actually wait for. To the left, you're watching a spinner. Now look where they land. The little model sits up and to the right, fast and good. The mid-size one is barely smarter and clinging on to that line. And the smartest isn't on the chart because it never answered. So the math on just buy bigger is brutal. To go from about 4 out of 5 to a hair above it, you pay 4 times the speed and you bet on a model balancing on the edge of the memory it doesn't have. That's not an upgrade, that's a downgrade with a better grade attached. On a cheap rig, the small model isn't the consolation price you sell for. It is measurably the pick, the most you can get that you actually sit and wait for. Bigger only wins the day your machine has the room. This one does not. And that finally finishes the spec sheet I've been building for 4 episodes. The cheap rig's real specification was never just the tokens per second. It's 3 numbers that only mean anything together. How many agents at once, how fast each one answers, and how smart those answers actually are. Most reviews give you the first, fudge the second, and completely skip the third. Now you have all 3, measured for the cheapest machine on the shelf. That's not a vibe about a local AI. That's a decision you can actually make. Now the caveats, because this channel is named after them. That score came from a small, strict exam, 15 tasks, graded by a checker too dumb to be fooled and too rigid to be generous. It's measured and reproducible, but it's not the last word on smart. A bigger exam would sand the edges off those percentages. And there's an obvious escape hatch I deliberately didn't open today. You can shrink that smart model down, quantize it, until it finally fits a cheaper rig. Does it stay clever or just get fast? That's a whole test of its own. Hold that thought. So here's the verdict, and it's the most useful one yet. Stop asking if a model runs, and stop assuming bigger is the fix. If your agent reads, extracts, follows instructions, and writes small bits of code, the free 3 billion model on a cheap machine is genuinely provable enough. Run a swarm of them, and don't look back. Its one real blind spot is arithmetic. And the answer to that isn't a bigger model, because we just watched a bigger model barely help. The answer to that is to hand the little one a calculator. Match the tool to the job. That's the whole deal here. Real tests, raw data, no slop. A cheap local model is smarter than the cynics swear, and has exactly one blind spot the hype never mentions. And now you know how to find it on your own machine. Next time, the escape hatch. I take the smarter model, crush it down to the fraction of its size so it finally fits the cheap rig, and grade it again. Does it stay smart or just get fast? I'll measure that one too. This has been the validation set. Thank you for listening.